Team, there's some important messages that I'm realizing are out in our community and culture that we get to add back in, not them, right? There's no one out there to drain the swamp of our society because it's our job. We're the ones filling it up, and we're the ones that decide what's in it. Whether you want to talk about a voting American who is responsible for their government, or whether you want to talk about a human on their Facebook page who is facilitating and sharing their feelings. And the biggest thing right now, team, the biggest thing is that we do not feel we are lovable if we feel too much, or if we are wrong, or if we say the wrong thing, or upset the wrong person, or pick the wrong opinion, or whatever it is. We lack safety with each other. And I'm not okay with that. I think that's the thing that, as I've explored biases in communication and the breakdown in culture, the thing that's really bothering me is the lack of ability for us all to share how we feel in a country that says we are allowed to have different opinions and feel. And I want to add this. I think it's so key right now is that we can have different opinions and share the same values. For some reason, we are very confused about that right now. And that's not anybody's fault. But we feel that if we have the same opinions, then we have the same values. And that is not the case. You can have all the same opinions as someone in a completely different value set. You can have all the same values and a completely different opinion set and implementation set. And that's really the point of power for us. And not just in our culture, you guys, and in the world. I've been thinking so much about it. Why? Why are we shredding each other in the United States for having different opinions? What's the problem? Because when I moved to Europe, it's really strange, and I have to bring it up. When I moved to Italy at 11, my dad worked for NATO. I was a little Midwestern homeschool girl. We went to Europe, but in Europe, and then we lived in Brussels, and it was different than your average military experience. Let me tell you this, because most military goes overseas and stays with Americans in a military base. They get some exposure, but it's different. With my family, we went to areas where there were no American bases. There were very few Americans. If there was one or two other families. So we were fully immersed in the culture, both in Italy and in Belgium, during a very formative time of my life. There, nobody took offense at differences. There, it was expected. And maybe it's because we were from different cultures. And granted, everyone's an ambassador there, okay? So they're educated, they're evolved, they're graceful, blah, blah, blah. However, there was always a curiosity. Hey, what's going on with this? Hey, why do you think that way? What about your culture teaches you that? How do you do school? How are women treated? What do you think about law? What kind of, do you have police officers there? We don't even realize every country is so different. And it was a fun process of getting to know. We weren't how could you think that? How dare you? And I've really been tapping into that recently, especially in ethics and studying intercultural studies, and how is it that in America, we're offended if someone asks us where we're from. And we've made that a color issue, but let me tell you, I'll tell you right now, it offended me because I moved to Europe at a young age, and there, where are you from, never offended me, because it was kind of where are you from? And I felt like I fit in more there because my differences were a curious point of let me get to know you. When I came back to the United States, it was where are you from? Really, what's wrong with you? It always had that tone. And I realized that it's more that tone that I think has made the question offensive. Why are you different? Rather than saying, of course, we're all different. I don't care if you grew up in the same small town in Alabama, you're actually different. You have a different culture than your neighbor. But we don't think about that. And since we haven't seen it on a grander scale, oftentimes in the United States, of your specific cultural and beliefs, a lot of Americans lack that comparison and contrast. And so it's really easy to get all uppity about all kinds of things, how we do our belief systems, how we do our education systems, how we think about people, places, things, even our language structure, right? We have verbs, nouns, adverbs. Not every language is built that way. Not everybody thinks about objects as things. We do that because of language, even though we know in science that we aren't stationary things. If anything, we're more like electrical blinking processes. Alan Watts, I love him. He does this great bit on It's not a bit. He's a philosophical entertainer, which I love. But he talks about how really we are verbs. If you think about it, we should be described not as a human, but humaning. We're like a humaning process. And that's really helped me to realize like we don't know how even our basic language structure that we're taught impacts how we think about our world and what we take for granted in that. And it's so useful to get around other cultures to experience that. So we can't all the time get around other cultures in the United States. So how do we create that? That's the opportunity of social media, isn't it? To have other people's views. I think that's got to be our tool now. So how do we take something that's kind of become toxic? We kind of, rather than using it as a tool for connection, kind of use it as a tool for destruction. I don't know why, but whenever it advented some time ago, it seemed to be about being mean and being trolls and, taking people down and like this whole strange community built that isn't based on like, hey, love, let's engage. It's built on a lot of judgment. I know so many people that just scroll through their social media and judge. And that's not cool because I can feel you, in case you don't know. And that's not why you shouldn't do it. If you want to scroll and judge, that's fine. The problem is it's hurting you and keeps you from being able to express because you judge so much. You assume that's what's going to happen to you. Judge not lest you be judged. Topic for another time. I think what I really wanted to come on and say is right now, this takes courage. This is a time for courage. It's a time for us to be courageous about what we talk about, and not because we need to be right and not because it's going to go well, but because we as a society and community need to start communicating more, and we can handle it. We're big enough. Anyone that says anything upsetting on my page, the truth is I love them. And even if I'm upset, like it'll be like for like 5 minutes, maybe a full 24 hours. You'd really have to get under my skin. And then we move on, and guess what? We're going to have a relationship in a more real place as long as we don't cancel each other. And as long as we don't block each other out like that idiot, right? It's that writing off piece, whatever this energy might, and it's that dehumanizing of someone's validity for their own opinions. Because even if I disagree with them, we should always have a basic respect for how other people feel. So what do we do when someone starts slinging mud? I guess we sling it back. I mean, let's realize this is physics, people. You are an electrical process. There, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you throw mud at someone, you got to be prepared for it to come back. And if someone throws it at you, you very well are probably going to throw it back until you can sort of get your... And I've been working at this a while. I mean, not to use me as a barometer because I'm super slow learner. I think that's because I'm so smart, actually. People are like, you're so smart. Yeah, that gets in the way. But when you really start to grasp this energetic piece, that there's a physics piece, you can overcome your biology, but you can't overcome the energy. And that's why it would be so useful if in science we focus more on the physics of our bodies and beings and environments than the biology. We're so focused on biology at the moment, and especially this medical pharmaceutical piece. Drug dealing, right? Biggest, oldest business in the book. But really being with each other on like, hey, this is okay. And if you swing at me and I swing, not actual physical violence, but energetically speaking, that's okay. Because you're teaching me something. And we're not great at this yet, but we are trying. And that friggin' took courage. It does take courage. And I have so much respect for everyone who is willing to share. If I didn't respond directly to you, I apologize. I will try to get to it as I move through this next week. But I have my own hesitations about kicking the post up to the top where like people see it again too, because I think sometimes these things just like need to fade into the night, and the more I comment on it, the more active it stays. And I don't know if that serves us or not. And my goal is to serve, for better or worse. Whether we get there or not, I don't know, but I do feel like just being an agent of this conversation and being an agent of, hey, let's activate this moderate middle that should be more neutral, that should be more calm, that can say, hey, let me take all this amazing information from these folks doing all this research on sort of the sides and bring it into something that's actionable, that more people can align with, that's a little bit softer, that's a little bit more aligned with everyone's values. Because going back to that before I wrap, of course, I want a 2-minute video and I'm always rambling, but it's the values. When we begin to realize that so many people share our values, and values go beyond culture and go beyond country and go beyond all of those things. when we really show a value of loving others, when we show values like everybody wants their family to be safe, to have a roof over their head, to have a full belly at night. 99.9% of people out there want every child on the planet to go to bed with a full belly in a safe environment. That's a value set that a very mass majority of the planet shares. And that is such a powerful place for us to focus. The implementation or specifics of certain things allow us to take that away from our brothers and sisters. I feel like so often when we get into some of these more dicey topics, I hear a lot of that. I hear this assumption of the other side, or assumption about the us, whatever them I'm in. This assumption that the us lacks that basic value of human life. And while we all talk and run our mouths about opinions, when it really comes down to seeing a suffering person in front of us, again, 99.9% of people, especially our own countrymen, would put the gun down and help. That's who we really are. Our value sets around life and what we want for those we love, what we think is important, justice, fairness, honesty. You have so many more people on board with that. Now, can people who hold a value of honesty, this is where it gets dicey, still engage in dishonest things or support dishonest people or support things that appear to us to not hold that same value set? Yes, because the implementation of values is very different. But regardless of opinion or implementation, we can always come back to, hey, do you value life? Hey, do you value people who are like marginalized and suffering, like that we lean in when we're not? Do you favorable like equitable policies that, limit exploitation of those marginalized populations? Like most people, especially when you get them like the real picture and the real process and details, they land in the same space because our value sets around caring for life, especially when it's right in front of us, looking us in the eye, that's our heart. If it's pumping, it's thumping, there's something to it. And we can't get to everybody's, but again, 99.9 might be a little high for people, so I'll sit at 98%. Very confidently, 98% of the world has the similar value set. It's the implementation. Ethics, culture, all of these things impact how we feel that. But when we can really remember that so many people, if they saw us hurting on the side of the road, would stop to help or extend a kind word or hand, not debating a hot topic on Facebook. And especially when we feel there's so much on the line. But that's a good place to start playing this out. I want to get to a place where we can conversate in our culture in a healthy way. I want to have a stronger middle moderate force that helps contain the rest of our citizens in a way that's effective for everyone. We really need more conflict resolution, management skills, communication skills, understanding about safety and trust building, because we're all doing these things. We just don't always have the language and understanding of what we're doing and how we want to be and what we want to create. Because I very rarely meet someone who really wants to just create destruction and pain in other people. We all want to sometimes, okay? We're human, but as a way of being, because no one enjoys those results. We want to feel effective. We want to feel purposeful. We want to feel loving and good, and we want to feel like we're living our skills, what we were designed to do. And that includes being with each other. If we can't be with each other, if we can't express what we really feel and hear what other people really feel in a safe way, like how can we relationship? And we all want relationship. We want to know that we are worth loving for who we are and where we are right now. Unconditional, knowing your value and worth, knowing you deserve unconditional love is key for a successful, happy life and creating one in those around you. It's really so important. And so I think I'm coming to a place of realizing that that's really what I want to be, is that conduit of those conversations. They aren't always easy. I think I'm a special conduit for it because I've been on different sides of issues and understand that our biases move, our opinions move, our our perceptions are constantly in evolution. They are not static. We are not our opinions. But our values do shape a lot about who we are and what we want. Anyway, enough out of me. Thank you for being courageous. Thank you for being amazing. I love you. Be well.